Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amy and it is officially fall here in Louisiana. It is cold today. Well, I say cold. I don't know, it might be in like the 70s, which is cool for us. I don't know, but the sun is bright. There's a nice breeze in the air. It just smells of fall. It feels of fall, and I am just super excited. Excuse my hair today. I just wasn't in the mood to fix it. It's been quite a week and it's only Tuesday. It's only Tuesday when I'm filming this, and it's probably going to go up tonight. I'm kind of pushing it a little bit. I wanted to film yesterday, but I was just not in the right place, I guess. My anxiety was super high. Still a little high today, but I'm feeling a lot better. Anxiety's a bitch, man. It's a bitch. But anyway, we are here to talk about some thriller recommendations. As October rolls in, like just in 2 days, it's gonna be October. It's time to read some spooky reads. Or, I mean, I read spooky reads all throughout the year, but you know what I mean. It's time to amp it up. It's time to really read some spookiness. But anyway, I have a couple of recommendations that I want to share with y'all, that books that I've read throughout this year that have really just kind of stayed with me, packed a good punch. So I thought we kind of reminisce and go back through those and see if maybe you find something that you want to pick up. I'll start off with young adult. I have like 2 young adult books that I want to talk about. The first one being Like Never and Always by Anne Aguirre. I'm not sure how to say the last name, so I apologize. I really need to look these things up before I do these videos. But anyway, this really took me by surprise. I don't know why I waited so long to read this. This stayed on my TBR for the longest time. It's definitely got everything in there for me. It's got some teen drama. It's got a little bit of romance sprinkled in there. It's got some mystery. And my most favorite, it has a little bit of a spiritual essence in there. Just a little bit. But I thought this would be great for the upcoming spooky season. Well, I mean, it is spooky season already. I mean, come on, it's been spooky season since like September, the beginning of September. But we follow a young girl in this book, and her friends are in a car accident right in the very beginning. And when she wakes up, she is actually in the body of her best friend. Trust me, you're gonna love it. It's everything. I fell in love with it, and I recommend it all the time when I can. Next up in my young adult thriller recommendation, this is All These Beautiful Strangers by Elizabeth Clefa. Y'all I really need to do a better job at these names. But in this book, we follow along with a 17-year-old girl. Her name is Charlie. She is going to like a kind of a top-notch school where they form like this group of A's. So there's a bit of a game quality to this book, but it's really in the background. It's really not what this book was about. And I think that's why it took me so long to read this book, because I'm not sure if I would like that type of thing in a book, but it's really not all about that. It's kind of in the background. We mainly follow Charlie because her mother disappeared years ago, and as she's making her way through her junior year at this school, she's starting to find some things out about like what happened to her mother. It's just a really good story of deceiving friends and horrible truths that start to resurface as Charlie makes her way through school and finding out what happened to her mother. It's just a really, really good read. Alright, that's all the young adult I have for you. Next up, I have a little stack of 3 books. One that everyone had been raving about, and I finally picked it up. Another one that kind of caught me by surprise. It's kind of been sitting on my TBR for a long time. Finally read it and loved it. And then another one, another gem I found at Barnes & Noble's that hadn't really heard a lot of. And then I read it and I loved it. So of course, first off, we have Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Penborough. This was just, I'll be honest, in the beginning, it was a little lagging. Like it took a little while. Then I kind of started getting very interested in the characters, the The wife seemed to be super creepy, so I knew something was up with her. So yeah, in this book we're following a single mom. Her name is Louise. She goes out one night, sort of hooks up with this guy. They kiss. They don't really do anything else. He tells her he's married and whatnot. Next day she comes into work and that's her new boss. So she meets the wife, kind of starts hanging around with the wife, kind of unintentionally. And that's when I that's when I got more interested in the story. I was like, there's something not right with this wife. There's a little bit of like, I want to call it like voodoo magic in here. But the ending, y'all, was just like, I recommend this book to everyone I see. I'm like, just wait to the end. It will blow your mind. Very much like WTF. And the one that I really wasn't expecting to love so much, this is I Found You by Lisa Jewell. This is definitely more on the lines of like a mystery type thriller with a more mystery than thriller. But I just thought it was so good and just so thought out and just so well written. I fell in love with our main character. I think her name is Alice. Yes, her name is Alice. She's just this most imperfect person and I loved her. I fell in love with her. She finds a man sitting by himself on the beach and he seems lost and confused, and come to find out he's like lost his memory. So she takes him in, and we also have another timeline from like, I don't know, like 20 or so years before. We follow like these two teenagers who are on vacation with their parents at this beach, and the story starts to meld together, and you start to figure out who our mysterious man is and where he fits into the story. We also follow a young woman named Lily who seems to have lost her husband. Her husband has gone missing. So is this her husband? Is it not her husband? Where does he fit in at? Where do these two teenagers fit in at from 20 odd years ago? It was just a fantastic read. I loved it. Highly recommend it. Next up we have Follow Me by Kathleen Barber. This I think I only gave like 4 stars, I believe, instead of 5. I mean, that's still a good rating for me, but I just wanted to kind of point that out because I did find a few little flaws in this story because I wasn't sure where it was going. We follow a young woman. What is her name? Audrey. And she is a huge Instagram star, and she apparently has a stalker. What I really liked in the beginning of this book, like the author kind of gives you a feedback and just information about stalking online, and it really is eye-opening. It just really makes you think about the people out there that could possibly be stalking you. So if you have yourself out there, you just have to be careful. I think is what this author was trying to tell us. So basically our story is about Audrey being stalked the entire time. And then we also get the point of view from her best friend, Kat. There was another problem with this for me because they just didn't seem like best friends. But what I really did like about their friendship, I guess, well, I don't know how to explain it, but Audrey was very popular on Instagram. Made it look like she was, you know, living this happy-go-lucky life, had all these friends, but really on the other side of which you don't see, she was really not struggling, but I guess struggling a little bit with herself, who she was. She really didn't have that many friends. The only friends she had was Kat, and I didn't feel like they had this closeness to them. And Kat was a very strange character. I really liked her character and where our author took us with this character. It's just it's a great twist at the end. I was really impressed with that. The story I will warn you, can get maybe a little boring because we're just mainly following Audrey around. Different things are happening to her. She feels like someone's following her. She gets sent these odd things. It's just little things like that throughout the book. And we also get the point of view of him, which is the stalker, which I found that was very interesting. We only get a few little tidbits of him, but he was my favorite character as we were reading throughout the book, finding out what's going through his mind and what he's thinking and how and what things are happening to Audrey. it was just a really good story, great twist at the end. I have another little stack of 3 to share with y'all. 2 Peter Swanson books. I think these are my 2 favorite. This first one I'm going to show you is my favorite out of the 2. This is All the Beautiful Lies by Peter Swanson. In this story, we follow 2 timelines. We follow Alice now and Alice then. Alice is the stepmother of Harry. In the beginning, Harry gets a phone call that his father passed away. So he leaves college to go be at the side of his stepmom, Alice. My brother's cutting grass. The more and more we get into the story, the more we learn about Alice. Alice is a very different character. She has not led much of an honest life, and it seems that she may be lusting over her stepson. So just a great little kind of psychological thriller. I really enjoyed it. And then 8 Perfect Murders is my next favorite of Peter Swanson. So in this book, we follow Malcolm Kershaw. He is the owner of a bookstore, and he used to actually write blogs for the bookstore. He does most of his selling online. In this one particular blog he wrote called 8 Perfect Murders. In this blog, he wrote about his most favorite murders that took place in some of his favorite murder mystery books. So the book does kind of spoil these murder mystery books, because these are books that are real. If you go to my Goodreads, I'll link it down below. In my review, I have the books listed. But to me, I felt like by the end of the book, I kind of forgot what happened in what murders took place in what book. So I don't think it didn't spoil anything for me if I would want to go back and read any of these books. But most of these books are classic mystery novels, and I'm not really much into classic mystery, so I doubt I will read any of them. The earliest one was The Secret History by Donna Tartt in 1992. With that said, we follow Malcolm in this book, and one day he gets visited by an FBI agent because someone is copycatting these murders that are listed in his blog. So of course he's questioned, kind of becomes a little bit of a suspect, but then he ends up like helping this detective. And I just really liked how our author just kind of laid out everything in the book, all the characters and the details, where you're thinking, oh, that's who did it. Oh, that's who did it. I bet that's who did it. It kind of throws you off a little bit, and I really enjoyed that of the book. And once you get to the nitty-gritty, the ending of the book, it's just like, wow, really? I wasn't expecting it at all. I was really surprised by this book because I heard mixed reviews. Some people were saying that they didn't like it, especially for the fact that some classic mysteries were spoiled. It wasn't like that for me. But anyway, I really enjoyed it, and I recommend it. Next is The Other People by C.J. Tudor. Loved this book. I think I actually love this better than The Chalkman. I really did like The Chalkman, but this to me was way better. So if you like The Chalkman, I think you would love this even more. In this book, we follow along with Gabe. He is coming home from work late one night, and he gets a phone call that something has happened and he needs to come home right away. On his way home, he thinks he sees his daughter in the back of a vehicle because she mouths "Daddy," and the story just takes off from there. It's never a dull moment. Something is always happening at every turn, and there's also a little bit of a spiritual essence, if you will, also in this book, which I really loved. This also reminded me a little bit of The Chain. The Chain was okay for me. I liked it. I kind of got bored with it. It all comes back to the other people. And so, for instance, if you want to get revenge on someone, you contact the other people, like through the dark web, and you ask for a favor. But you have to realize that you will be getting asked for a favor in return. So say if you want someone to kill someone for you and someone does it, that someone will someday contact you and be like, hey, I need you to do this for me because I did this for you. So, you know, and it's a domino effect. So it's very much kind of like The Chain, but I just thought this was a lot better. But it has nothing to do with the storyline of like somebody getting kidnapped or anything like that, like The Chain did. It's just kind of in the background of a few little things that happens along the way. And as we're getting Gabe's story and what could have possibly happened to his daughter. Was that his daughter in the back of the car? So, and I think we also get the point of view from someone else. Yes, we also follow a woman named Fran who could possibly know the whereabouts and the whys of Gabe's daughter. So, really good book, very fun. I enjoyed it, highly recommend it. And I have a last little 3 stacks of books to talk to y'all about or recommend to y'all. 2 of them by the same author. One of them a very, very recent read of mine. And all 3 of these books have some spiritual, paranormal essence about them. Some spookiness, some ghostly things. Loved it all. The first one is The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. I have a vlog somewhere on my channel reading this book and I fell in love with it. It was creepy, it was spooky. I could not be by myself reading this book. So we kind of go back and forth through timelines. We go back to Vermont in 1950 and then Vermont in 2014, present day, I guess. In 1950 we were following a group of girls that are going to like a boarding school of some sort for all girls, I believe. And some very creepy things are happening while they're there. One of their friends goes missing. In 2014, we follow Fiona. She is a journalist and her sister's body was found on the property of this school. The school from in 1950 where we're following these girls. So Fiona is just still trying to find out what happened to her sister, what truly happened to her sister, the real story behind it. There also seems to be like this dark essence that's kind of floating around this I don't know when the building was built, but this school. But I loved how the timelines just sort of melded together and came together, and just the creepiness of both timelines, the creepiness of the school and what was going on there and what was happening now. It creeped me out and I loved it. And then we got to The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. This is right up there with my top thrillers of the year. I love this. It creeped me out even more than The Broken Girls. Again, 2 timelines in this book. We're following Viv in 1982. Yes, 1982 New York, and then we follow Carly, which is Viv's niece, in 2017 New York. Something happened to Viv in 1982 at the Sundown Motel. Viv sort of ran away from home, wanted to make it big in New York, wanted to become an actress, you know, all those great dreams. And I don't really remember how she ends up at the Sundown Motel, but she only intends to be there for 1 night and then keep heading, you know, upstate to wherever she was going. But eventually she comes to work at the Sundown Motel and she starts to have these weird things that are sort of happening around her. And then she just all of a sudden one day just disappeared. And then we have Carly in present day 2017. Her mother has just passed away and her mother has never really told them anything about her sister. So Carly wants to find out more about her aunt. Could she still be alive? If not, what happened to her? She wants answers. So she travels, takes like the same footsteps as her aunt did in 1982, and she ends up at the Sundown Motel. She ends up getting a job there, and sort of the same things start happening to her, but yet different, because we're different times. When in 1982 and 2017, that's many years, so it's sort of the same thing that's happening to her, but different. Because I know a lot of people said that they felt like they were just reading repetitious things, but to me, it was totally different, and each time was leading to more clues of where or what happened to Viv. The paranormal aspect of this book was just super, super creepy. There's definitely ghostly presence, spirits in this hotel. Creeped me out. I loved every minute of it. And lastly, probably my top thriller horror of the year so far is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This is just the best, y'all. The best. The creep level is 10 plus. But what I really most enjoyed about this book is we get little excerpts from House of Horrors. So House of Horrors is a book that Maggie, the character that we'll be following, her father wrote this book after they left this house, Bainbury Hall. I don't remember how many years ago it has been. Probably like, it's always usually about 20 years ago, something like that. But anyway, there is some history to Bainbury Hall. There's some history of the people, the man that built the hall, and there's also, or the home. It was just named Bainbury Hall. And also the family that lived before them, there's history with that family. And the mother of that family actually still lives in, you know, the vicinity of Bainbury Hall. So anyway, Maggie and her mom and dad, Maggie was 5 years old when they moved into Bainbury Hall, and they lived there for like 20 days. And they just suddenly just left the house. They just fled it, left everything behind, and never looked back. Years later, her father passes away and he leaves her the house. Maggie had no idea the house was even still in their possession. She thought they had sold it. Maggie is now like an interior designer. Her and her friend have like this little company where her friend helps her restore homes. More grass cutting. He's almost done. As soon as I'll be done with this video, he'll be done cutting grass. So anyway, she decides she's just gonna go up there, she's gonna renovate, and she's gonna sell the home. Well, once she gets there, things start to happen. And as these things start to happen, we're getting excerpts from the House of Horrors. So as we read what her father wrote, the next chapter, we get something vaguely in the same sense happening to Maggie. So is her father's book really true or not? All these years she's thinking it's not, but now that she's here at Bainbury, all these years later as an adult, she's wondering if it can really be true. There's definitely some paranormal in this story. Maybe not quite as much as say like the Sundown Motel or the Broken Girls, but it's definitely in there. It definitely has a little kick at the end, a little bit of a twist, because you're definitely thinking, it's one person. And I mean, true Riley Sager style, it's a little chaotic at the end, but it's genius. Great read. I still am like just flying high off this book and looking for, I guess, my next Home Before Dark, which hasn't happened yet. Also, I do want to mention one little book I recently also read. This is The Sleep Tight Motel by Lisa Unger. I just want to mention it because it's got that great creep factor for our spooky month coming up shortly. It's a very short story, but I highly recommend it. It's a short story with a punch. Has to do with another sort of like haunted hotel. I don't want to tell you too much because it's super, super short, but very, very good. And I'm really anxious to read more from this author. I have not yet. I keep saying I will and I want to, just haven't gotten around to it, but it was great. Just wanted to mention it real quick to recommend it to y'all. But that is it. That's all my recommendations I have for this coming spooky month that is upon us. I'm wearing my I Put a Spell on You t-shirt. Can't wait to see my Sanderson sisters. One of my favorite movies to watch during the month of October. Love me some Bette Midler. Alright y'all, that is it. Thank y'all so much for watching as always. I'll have all these books listed down below, of course, as always. If you have any recommendations, any spooky reads for me, let me know in the comments below, because I'd love some spooky recs. Hope y'all are all doing well out there. Hugs from me all around, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye y'all.